to everybody's face.
Hello, Mark. Mr. Pope, 1996.
Oh, my gosh.
What?
Hey, let's give it up right here. This is my guy. Yes. I'm so happy to see you.
Hey, gratitude is a skill, guys. But if you practice, it will give you a joyful life regardless of your circumstances.
I think that's always the challenge. You know, there's we're asking you to really embrace the suffering because you need to. You know, and I think as it gets hot out here, as the practices stack days, as the bodies get wore down, no different than what it's going to feel like in the middle of the year, you know, in the middle of the season. And so I think it's a daily mental battle. Guys are pushing through, and we're happy about where they're at.
I'm just excited to be out here with the guys to battle and basically just bleed every day with my brothers. So it's going good. We sharpen iron versus iron. I love it. You know, we're just trying to get better every day and prove everybody wrong.
We're on day 6 now, so legs are a little heavy, but I think full pads is always a very exciting time. And I think for everybody, it just brings a lot of energy to practice. And I think, you know, everybody just gets excited to hit and excited to play real football finally.
Ball to find you. Hayes on the bare hand. Yes! What a play!
Oh, now you're just showing off. Oh, that is outstanding. I didn't think there was any way he was going to make that play. That was some kind of pretty.
In the air, left field. Hap going back on this windy night. That is gone! The 13th of the year for Steer. Right into the Chicago wind, and the Reds ahead 4-1.
Did we mention that Spencer Steer comes up big in big spots? That's his second consecutive at bat. He's done exactly that.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon, Alan Cutler. Honored and pleased to be with you. Honored and pleased that you're spending part of your busy day, or maybe tonight somewhere across the country, or on an exercise bike, as I know some folks do, at the Y and other places, listening to the podcast of today's show tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for telling your friends. Jimmy in control. I'm Alan Cutler. The first short snippet before we got into a number of bites was Jalen Farmer. And let me explain a new word. And there's no doubt in my mind, and I don't know, but this has to come from the coaches. So suffering is a new word. And if it comes from the coaches, and I need to find out, it's a really smart word to use. Here's why. You're setting the tone. You're explaining to these young men that if you want to be successful, this is training camp. Everybody knows training camp sucks, okay? Everybody knows that. You don't have to tell it to a football player, but taking a different angle, that you're going to have to suffer. And you're going to have to go through it. And if that sounds mean, too bad, it's football and it's physical. And so now we're hearing the word suffering from a number of different players. And it sounds like they've bought in. It sounds like they've bought in. And it sounds like, I know it's preseason hype, that these guys have banded together to make themselves a TEAM. Now, when adversity hits, that's when we'll really find out. Because I don't care if they exceed your expectations. I don't care. You're still going to have some suffering. I don't care if they exceed my expectations. You're still going to have some suffering. You're still going to have adversity, just the way football is, and you know that. So what happens when you have adversity? Can you get together and suffer? Now, in yesterday's practice, apparently at the end, Stoops didn't like it, and he was ticked off. And the feeling is, okay, the guys gave in, they were tired, and blah, 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 blah. I don't think there's been a year where Stoops hasn't got upset about something in practice. Does it bother me? Hell no. Is he trying to set a tone? Yes. Is he trying to tell the guys, guess what? You got to push, you got to push, you got to push, you got to push. And I don't give a blank if you're tired. I don't care. He doesn't care. Because guess what? If you can't push when you're tired, we're not going to win. And that's not a reflection of last year and the year before. It's just you're not going to win. And the guys are parroting it back. And the guys are saying that they can do better and they will do better. Okay. Okay. The suffering, that little snippet we're going to leave in the open, that's Jalen Farmer, who's getting a ton of pub. And he's 320-something pounds with body fat of 18.5%. First of all, I wish I had 18.5%. Jimmy, you probably have 18.5% or less, I'm guessing. Do you know what yours is? You don't want to share it with the world. That's okay.
I've never actually tested my body fat. I don't know.
Well, with a recent surgery, I had to get tested. Well, I get tested every year. You get your vitals and stuff like that. That if your what they call BMI is too high, they won't do the surgery. Mine was 30.5. I was just under the radar. That's how bad I am, and that's embarrassing. Jimmy, you ain't 30.5, and you ain't 20.5. You're not 8%, but you're 15, 20%. So that really hit me like a ton of you-know-what. And Farmer has no body fat on him. He really doesn't. He really doesn't. Now, let's take the team aspect and flip it over to the Reds. Hal McCoy, my good buddy, Hall of Famer in the Hall of Fame, the other day made a very interesting point, and it really paralleled what Tito Francona said after the Reds beat the Cubs yesterday, is that with the trade deadline and stuff like that, that they were trying to be careful. And Hal said the same thing. They try to be careful because this is now a team. And that's the beauty of Francona, by the way. He gets guys together. There's a way that he compliments. There's a way he does it in a non-threatening way when he gets on somebody, and he's not afraid to get on anybody behind closed doors. This aw shucks attitude that he has. Don't take that the wrong way. But the way he protects guys, it's easy for people to play for him. People like Terry Francona. Plus, he's a really smart guy. And by the way, last night, win number 2010. Just think about that. 2010 as a major league manager, that makes him 12th on the all-time list, surpassing Leo DeRocha, who's one of the most fiery and crazy managers from 1939 to 1973. 12th. And so that play that Hayes made, I know Jimmy played the sound. I watched it 5 or 6 times. There aren't 5 third basemen in baseball that can make that play. And if others made it, I would call it lucky. That was a spectacular play. Not that anybody's surprised, because he's a Gold Glover and one of the best third basemen in baseball, and I've known that forever, and that's fine. I just don't like spending. I know I'm not wishy-washy much, but if I'm going to be wishy-washy, I just have to be honest about it. Paying $16 million and you're batting a guy 9th bothers me a little bit. But the defense has been so bad, and he improves it so much that maybe that counteracts, and maybe he'll hit a little bit better. But that was an unbelievable play. And I'm telling you, when you make a play like that for a team, that lifts you up almost like a home run, unless it's a home run that puts your head 3-2 or something like that. It uplifts everybody. It was a great, great play. And then Steer with a home run. Now, here's the little part I disagree with Tito. Am I allowed to do that? I've said this before, that Steer should have started the season on the disabled list. Absolutely. In my humble opinion, they forgot to ask me. So his first 50 or 60 at-bats, he sucked. He had a shoulder problem. He sucked. So he really couldn't do anything. Couldn't throw the ball. Plus, he couldn't bat. I don't understand why you applaud somebody for being what? Toughing it out, taking one for the team. Because his performance was so poor, I'd like to think somebody else on their roster could have performed, even if they're not as good as Steer, as well as Steer did, while he was able to heal up and get healthy. Probably would have been healthier sooner. Probably would have been more productive sooner. That just baffles me. Sometimes you got to shut people down. Oh, I can tough it out. I can go through it. I did this rap before, and I'm doing it now again, because one of the things Tito said after the game, and he's right about this, when people are saying, okay, he's having a bad year. And Tito said, and I said this before, if you take out those first early at-bats, he's not having a bad year. He's really not. He can't take the bats out. Those at-bats out. I get it. You get it. I get it. That's fine. But he never should have been put in that position. And he's turning clutch. The other thing I like what Tito's doing, he's leaving him at first base. He's a really good first baseman. And so even though I think he played more in second base in the minor leagues, if I remember, even though he can play left field, right field, third base, second base, first base, he's a really good first baseman, not giving a Gold Glove. And guess what? Just leave him there. And so if you think about it, defense at first, defense at second, defense at third, defense behind the plate when Trevino's catching. Not that Stevenson is bad, but when Trevino's catching. That's really, 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 really good D. Really good D. In the upper echelons, baseball. And when Nick Kroll made the trade for Hayes, he said at the time, Reds were 13th when it came to the defensive metrics. That's part of it. Okay, so that's good. Going to make another Reds comment, and then we're going to move on. By the way, Reds this afternoon, we end the show at 1:47, not at 1:52. I know it says 12-2, but with commercials and stuff like that, because the Reds are playing the Cubs this afternoon. So I really, really, really liked it. I said at the time, picking up Luttrell. I know he gives up a ton of home runs. I don't know if he's still number one, but he was number one in the National League when they got him. But he doesn't walk people. And what does he do? What does he do really, really well? I'm telling you, if I'm in a bullpen, I'm buying this steak dinner. He eats up innings, and he's really, really, really good. Eats up innings. There aren't a lot of guys in the Major League eats up. He's a pro's pro, and I tell you, he's the kind of guy. He reminds me a little bit of a guy named Lugo, who just re-signed for a bigger contract in Kansas City. And the Mets, when they didn't sign about 3 years ago, I'm going, this is really stupid. This guy is really good. He was tremendously underrated. I don't know why more teams didn't go after him. Goes to Kansas City, is really good, and he's happy. So he already signed a contract. He probably could have gotten more in the open market. He's making a lot of money, and he's happy. Gee, there's a concept. He's happy. And he was the kind of guy I said at the time I wish the Reds got. And I was absolutely right about that because he wasn't expensive. And he's really good. And I don't know how sometimes these guys fly under the radar, but I'm telling you, if Luttrell keeps on pitching like this, he's had a really good year. Getting him for a 3-year contract is within the budget of the Reds, unless somebody really realizes what he's worth, because he doesn't throw hard. So therefore, he's not going to get a big contract. He is a pitcher. Did a really good job. I mean, gave up 1 run, struck out 8, 3 hits, 7 innings. Like I said, gives up 1 run. And think about his week. He gets traded from Tampa Bay, right? Goes from Tampa Bay. You're going to Tampa Bay. Then he was supposed to go home. Couldn't do it. They go to Bristol. Didn't have time to go home. They go on the road. Couldn't get his stuff. I mean, he's taking planes like crazy, and yet he performed last night tremendously. Tremendously. By the way, Jimmy, I don't know if you know this. I did not till I saw it this morning. There are only 3 teams in baseball that haven't had a 5-game losing streak. The Cubs, the Brewers, and the Reds. Interesting. So we have every pitch of the Reds on, and I love baseball, and I think you know that. And when they're losing, I don't feel like talking about them as much. Sounds terrible, but it's true. I will whine and moan and complain and stuff like that. We don't talk the Yankees, thank goodness, because they're so bad it's not even funny. They're horrendous. The Yankees are absolutely horrendous. How about this? They got a kid named Ben Rice who's having a wonderful, wonderful rookie year. Now think about this. You're on the New York Yankees, and you're having a wonderful year. And he's a really good catcher, by the way. He's a better catcher than people realize. He can catch, he can play first base, he can DH, but he's a tough guy. And you know what he said? A rookie in New York. We need to have more of a sense of urgency. Oh, my gosh. A rookie saying that in New York? Sports talk must be going crazy. They don't have a sense of urgency. A rookie speaking up and calling out his teammates. Woo. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Jump back, last thing on the Reds, and then we'll move on. Scott Barlow, who quietly has been a great signing for the Reds. Going into yesterday, he'd pitched 6 of the last 7 games. He's pitched 6 of the last 7 games going into yesterday, including 2 innings on Monday. And what did he said? Everybody wants to have the ball. We all want to have the ball. We're going to handle it. Jimmy, I got to tell you, I've sat on this thought for about 2 weeks. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs because I'm going to bet they won't. They might. They have a legitimate shot. But what has happened in year 1 under Tito is terrific. Plus, some of the moves that the Reds continue to make are better. They're identifying grinders. Scott Barlow is a grinder. He's not a big name. He is a grinder. And they're getting a bunch of grinders. Luttrell is a grinder. They got a bunch of guys. Steer is a grinder. It's so long. Ellie is a grinder. He might be flashy, but he's a grinder. They're getting a lot of guys that are grinders, and it's really helping out not a little, but tremendously. It's fun. It's absolutely fun. We're going to switch to football. I love this sound. Jimmy, would you pull up David Gusta as we set up the show? Honored and pleased with our guest today. Dylan Ballard of Sea of Blue will be joining us at 12:30. 1 o'clock, Brian Milam will join us. I'm going to tease him about retiring from Channel 27. Longtime TV guy, did a really good job, and he's going to work for the KHSAA, and it's perfect. Brian loves high school sports, and he's going to, I don't know everything he's going to do, but I'm assuming it's a bunch of TV and some other stuff besides being a communication director and all that kind of stuff. I think the KHSAA is lucky to have him, and I think Brian's lucky to go to KHSAA. It just sounds, at least on the surface, and Brian will talk about that more, literally a perfect marriage. He really loves high school sports. I respect him. He's done a heck of a job. Good for him. And then at 1:15, I call him the voice of reason. Gene Abel will join us. Okay, let's get into David Gusta. This is clip A. We do A before number 1, Jimmy. And he is married. And Jimmy, would you do this when you listen to the sound? Would you have done this? This is how he met his wife.
I met her at a Washington State. So basically, I met her when I was 17. So they posed the incoming freshman. I thought she was beautiful. I texted her. I met her at a Domino's parking lot, probably the best spot. But it's funny, every anniversary we go get a Domino's. So it's nice.
What do you think, Jimmy? By the way, David Gusta is the strongest guy on the team and a defensive lineman who everybody is excited to watch. He's very mature. He's very comfortable in his own skin. He can move. Let me repeat, strong as an ox. How about that? You see this gal, you think she's beautiful. She texts you. You meet in a parking lot at Domino's. And now they go to Domino's every year on the anniversary of their meeting. I think that's really cool.
It's nice to see that chivalry's not dead.
Yeah.
A true romantic is David Gusta.
Well, okay, think about it. He's 17 or 18, Rod. How much money do you think he had in his pocket? There wasn't NIL.
No.
Right? So going to get pizza, sounds like a pretty normal date to me. Yes, at that age?
Oh, yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with doing it now. So, okay. Can you see, well, this is a little weird. It's a little different. I don't know you. I'm not 100% comfortable. We'll meet in the parking lot. Let's see if we want to go in together or something like that. Doesn't that sound about right?
Yeah. It's a good day.
It's good. You haven't smiled. You got a story you're not telling me.
No, I just think it's awesome that they still go to Domino's every single year for their anniversary.
You know what that's called? Tradition.
Yeah. Even if he's going to make it big in the NFL, have a huge contract every single year, they're still going to go to Domino's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which I think was Gus Malzahn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Gus. He was a high school coach, and the way he boom, 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 rapidly rose, SEC, all that stuff. I'm not getting into his career, but you know what I loved? I can't think of the name of the place. On Friday night in high school, when they didn't have much money, they went to, I can't think of the name of the chain. That's open late. That would be open late after high school games to get, like steak and eggs and fries and stuff like that. And then after he was making gazillions, guess what he and his wife would do after games? They would go to the same place because that was their tradition after games. And I always thought that was pretty cool. He could have gotten a steak anywhere in the world with all the money he has. No. It's kind of traditions. He liked it. I think that's cool. I think it's really cool. And this is a compliment to White, the defensive coordinator, and Stoops. And you're hearing more of this. There were all the crap that went on here, how they have talked and sold the program to so many of these news kids is really good. This is clip number 1. And so this is Gusta talking about, and I'm telling you, of everybody that's been brought in outside the quarterback, because who doesn't want to see what the new quarterback can do? Gusta is probably number 2 on my list. Seriously, I've looked at tape at him. He's really, 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 really good. If he ended up at an Alabama or a Georgia, based upon what kind of football player he is, I would not be surprised, by the way. He's that good. I mean, seriously. So what did Coach White say? What was his pitch on how he would fit in at the University of Kentucky?
from his words, I've been a great fit.
Okay.
Yeah, because he told me the role that he wanted me to basically play in, and I guess spring I showed it, fall camp I showed it, and I guess fall camp they're gonna dial it back. They want me to be healthy for like season, and then I'm glad that I proved myself to them because again I came here to be a part of this team. I didn't come here to be like just me, because again it's basically a team, and then I'm glad that everything's worked out well for everybody.
Now that's important. A little thing in there that they've dialed back on him. So you got to treat everybody differently. When you have somebody as strong as he is and as good as he is, and he proved how dominating he could be in spring, plus everything he's got on tape, instead of beating the crap out of the kid, which the old school too many players did, it was one of my big complaints about Bill Curry. And I really like Bill Curry. And he was old school about the two-a-days and this, that, and the other, and the physical camp that you had to be ready. But they lost so many players. And there'd be so many guys who had told me, by the time the first game came, they were so sore and so beat up from getting tougher, it really affected them. Now there's a fine line. It's football. It's not like other stuff, and you know that. So you got to get guys ready. But there's a certain point where I think you need to step back. And it certainly sounds like from what he said that White and Stoops are saying, okay, you're ready. We want you 100% for game one. That doesn't mean he's standing around in shorts all the time, and I don't know what he's doing or how much he's doing. He's doing things, what percentage, I don't know. But the fact they're saying we want you healthy to start this season, I think it's really smart by the coaching staff. I think it's really smart. Now, he's a little modest here in clip number 2. He's a big man, and I mean a big man, and a little bit modest when it comes about what he could do in the weight room.
I would say I've always been pretty strong in like the weight room, because coming out of college, not college, high school, like my bench, it's crazy. I was only 235 pounds coming out of college, but I benched
in high school.
Yeah, but I benched almost 400 pounds though, and then so I guess it definitely carried on.
And you're at 225. Was it 28 reps?
In high school?
No. Here.
No, it was 38.
38. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I shorted you.
No, like it was 38.
Yeah, and people kind of went nuts over that, didn't they?
Yeah, and then so they tried to make a whole video out of it, but I'm not really a show person because again, I'm kind of a nerd that was born athletic, so I'm more of like an introvert. I like to be in my home, just me and my wife.
Jimmy, as an NFL guy, would you say I'm giving you a low number that most defensive linemen in the NFL can't bench 200? Now, benching isn't everything, okay, but you got to have strength. There's a fine line in there. Most NFL defensive linemen cannot bench press 225 pounds 38 times. You agree with that, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go one step further. Now we're almost getting into... I got the next number I got from my years doing the Bengals radio network. I'm going to venture to say, and this doesn't guarantee he's going to play in the NFL, but I'm going to venture to say at least 75% of the interior linemen in the NFL cannot bench press 225 pounds 38 times. You agree?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if it's 90%. I don't know. And guys get stronger. They get older, they get stronger. A lot of guys, start peaking out at 25 with the weights and stuff like that. I don't know if it's 90%, but I would be very confident putting on a six-pack of some organic drink or beer, whatever you want, that it's over 75% as well. Again, that doesn't mean he's going to make all SEC. That doesn't mean he's going to play in the NFL, although he's got wonderful NFL potential. No question about it. But it just shows you how good he is. The other thing is he likes to hang out with his wife. That's really cool. It doesn't sound like he's a big partier. He's here to do a job. He's here to be a professional. And I think that's really good. And clip number 3, he brought his mom and brother with him, which I think is really good. And this is interesting. Now, a teammate's always going to say nice things about a teammate. So you have to look at some of these sound bites with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I think there's a lot in here. Who does he go against all the time? Jagger Burton. So this is a comment, clip 3, about the starting center from Lexington, Kentucky.
Jagger's probably one of the best people and best centers that I've been around. and he's just overall just a great person. And then also Farm is a freak of nature. And then so 19% body fat at 6'6" and 330. That dude's a freak. And then but Jagger is also a freak of his own. And then so he just makes me just a better player just overall.
So you're hearing Farmer being a freak, which we've heard a number of times. Big Pete is a freak. The kid from Arkansas is like 345 and a freak. Braun, they're obviously going to be much stronger on the offensive line, and I keep on saying they're going to be much, much better. How much better? I don't know. Will it be as good as the big blue wall in the old days? I'm not predicting that. I don't know. But compared to last year, it should be tons better. But tons better and being special, two different things. I'm just going to be open-minded. I don't know. And if they end up being great, I will say I didn't know they were going to be great. I will say I thought, and I've said this many, many, many times in the show, that they would be much, much better. I'm kind of standing by that. If that sounds a little wishy-washy, that's okay. But I've been saying they were going to be better long before this interview session started with the football team. Because to me, it was pretty obvious. Pretty obvious. Okay, a little comment on the D.
This is probably the best secondary that I've ever been around, and so like the people are great and we're physical, and then Coach White definitely knows his stuff, and so I remember like walkthroughs. We're supposed to walk through like 15 plays. This man is so particular on one play. We spent an hour on one play, on a whole walkthrough. It is. Yeah, that man is definitely on like the little things, and like the beginning of the season last year. I guess they're at the top, but then injuries and stuff happens, and so but overall, without the injuries, it's definitely one of the best defenses like the SEC.
Now that's interesting. There's a couple things in this about White, the defensive coordinator, spending that much time, an hour on one play. So Jimmy, you agree with me? He is drumming in their heads what he pushes all the time about the little things. It's hot out there. You're tired. Coach is ticked off. Normal stuff. And he's going over the same thing, whatever the hell the play was, I don't know, and I really don't care. It doesn't matter. It's the concept that he's going over the same thing over and over and over and over and over again to not only make sure they get it right, but really push and understand that if we're going to be good, we have to do the little things. Jimmy, I like it. Can you imagine standing out there in the sun when it's this hot? And I don't know if the guys were able to take their helmets off. Probably they were at a certain point. But pushing and pushing and pushing, I think it's great. I have no problem with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you have to do that. Especially as a coach, you do the little things. There's a saying, you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. It starts with the little, especially this time of the year. Now, I don't know if they're doing that, halfway through the season during a walkthrough, taking an hour to do a play, but you need to set the groundwork now that we don't let any of the little things slide. And I think that's awesome.
I do too. By the way, he really likes the fried food here, and in particular, the fried chicken. So he went from 305 to 320, and the coach said he needed to chill it out a little bit. I would assume that the fried chicken in Lexington, Kentucky is tons better than Washington State, wouldn't you?
I would guess so.
Yeah.
I've never been up there, so I don't know. But, yeah, I would guess.
I've been up there, and not to that town, but I've been in the Northwest, and the fried chicken, if you're into fried chicken here, it's spectacular. Not healthy. I don't eat it like I used to, but, yeah. And I can see putting on 15 pounds easily. Easily. I will save clip number 5 for another day or maybe later today because Dylan is in the hopper. And he is ready to go. Dylan Ballard will be kind enough to join us right after the break. And then at 1 o'clock, Brian Mollum retiring from television, going to the KHSAA from being sports director of Channel 27. Congrats to him and Gene Abel at 1:15. Fast, friendly service all the time. The Quantrill Auto Group. I trust them. They're terrific. Terrific. This month, take advantage of the special event pricing when trading up to any new Cadillac. Don't miss your chance to secure the best deal on an upgrade. It's not just Cadillacs, folks. It's Quantrill Volvo. It's Quantrill Cadillac. It's Quantrill Subaru. Their quality of cars and their service is absolutely first class. We've purchased 2 cars from them, and they have donated to over 50 local charities. The Quantrill Auto Group. I trust them. They've been great to us. And I believe they'll be great for you. Check them out when you go and say, hey, Alan Cutler was talking about you guys on the Alan Cutler Show on 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So, play as hard as you work. Go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road.
Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. I think his face is frozen. Dylan, are you on Zoom or we just see your face?
I'm here, Alan.
Can you see me?
I can see you. Let me make a little quick change here.
There you go. There you go. I was about to say, if you could talk without your mouth moving, you shouldn't be talking to me. You should be, doing some show, as a ventriloquist or something like that. I was going, oh man, I know you're good, but you ain't that good. Dylan Ballard.
Ain't that good? No, for sure.
How are you, dude? Tell him you got about 12 things going on. Give a synopsis of who you are and where you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But try not to do it in 10 minutes though, because you got a lot going on.
I got you. So I work as a writer and mainly a photographer for a Sea of Blue in my sports world. And then in my day-to-day life, I help out at my church quite a bit. But my main job is I run a real estate brokerage day to day, and I oversee 6 offices in Central Kentucky.
So what do you do with your spare time?
I try to fill it up as much as I can. Well, the wife and the kid take care of the rest of it.
Yep. You can sleep when you're 40, as that expression goes, or something like that. So the hype season is here, and I'm all good for the hype season because it was desperately needed. It was all quiet. We didn't know what's going on, all that kind of stuff. There's a fear of the unknown. They've been terrible the last couple of years, so then you think of the worst because that's just human nature. And I'm not saying they're going to go to a bowl game. I have no idea. I wouldn't predict a bowl game, but I think the offensive line, I've been saying it for quite a while, is going to be much, much, much better. Will it be as good as the Big Blue Wall? I ain't saying that. I'm not saying that. And if it is, I'll say I didn't say it because I'm telling you, I don't know. But you got some really strong men. Notice I'm saying men on the line. I mean, some really strong men. And apparently, at least, and I say this with kindness, the hot air that's coming out of camp. It is hot air. It's hot air everywhere. It's not just saying hot air in Lexington. There's hot air going in Birmingham. There's hot air going on. It's just natural and stuff like that. You get the feeling that these guys really have done a very nice job branding together as a team. But we'll really find out. I don't care what your record is. Alabama, when they're undefeated, has a game or two where they've got some adversity they got to overcome. It happens to Alabama. We'll find out how good they are when they deal with some adversity. Until then, it's nice, but they haven't proven yet. What do you agree or disagree, or what are your thoughts on what I call the hot air talking season?
Yeah, this season comes every year, right? Especially in the schools that needed a little extra, and in the schools that don't. It happens everywhere, and I think it especially ramps up when media starts getting to go to practice because we don't go often, but we got to go to practice on Friday, which was awesome, and we're super appreciative that we got to go Friday, and we had media day, and then fan day on Saturday. So it's officially now it's time to talk, and I'm with you, Alan. I don't know how many games they're gonna win this year. Would I predict a bowl game? Probably. Like I don't know, probably not. But I think that's right around the range. But the schedule's really hard, and I do think they could be a lot better and still not have too much of a better record, like have better on-field product, just because the schedule's so tough. But I do agree with you that there's a lot of talk surrounding the O-line. They it seems like they have worked and worked and worked to rebuild this O line because Alan, you know this, the program was built around the big blue wall at the height of it. When they won 10 games twice, Chris Rodriguez, Benny Snell, Josh Allen, like we had some star power, but it was built on the fact that you could go get 3 or 4 yards whenever you needed it, no matter what, because of the offensive line. And they have really spent a lot of time in today's time, finances, trying to rebuild that offensive line. And from everything we've heard at media day and what we saw in practice, they seem to be cohesive. But I do feel like Alan, in the world that is social media world, the world that is radio, there is a little bit of this. You got to go prove it to us. It's been a couple of years since they've been successful. Last year, it's no secret. Mark Stoops has said it. The culture was rough. They had let things slip. And I will say, I'm no genius. I don't have like all the big inside information, but the folks I've talked to and just hearing Mark Stoops as well and being at practice a couple of days, I do think they fixed a lot of that. They brought in 50 new players, 50 including the transfers and freshmen, and I think that it's going to be a different team for sure. For sure, more experienced and for sure more disciplined. So I think we just have to wait and see what happens on the field.
I'm waiting for somebody to put out some national article on a national guys, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. And I don't have the answer. But as outrageous as 51 or 50 players, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The point of the temperature is there. Yeah. I wonder if Kentucky's in the top 10 or top 20 with that. For example, Missouri had, I think, brought in 38 players, and they didn't get rid of players like Stoops got rid of some players. So as outrageous as that number is, and it's outrageous, I wonder how far off the norm it is, and I wonder who is number one. And then we'll see next year. I bet they don't bring in 51 players next year, but you know something? Would it surprise me if they brought in 40? It would not, by the way. So this is the new norm, and I think coaches have finally gotten a lot better. To their credit, they've adjusted, getting some outside help in exercises and games and things for the players to do to help bond together. And the truth is, this should have been going on 20 years ago. Well, it wasn't, not ripping them for that, but at least when they know they were desperate, because you got to get these guys to get to know each other quickly. I think there's a lot of programs doing a really good job now, and I think very few programs were doing a very good job 15 years ago because, this guy will be here 4 years. If they eat together, that's great. We'll put it together, that's great. It's a totally different world, and it's a credit to these coaches who have listened to psychologists and other people to kind of put it together.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a big part of continuity and culture. I think last year was a testament. They had some really talented guys, but if those dudes aren't clicking, if those dudes aren't every step of the way, that's gonna be tough to make it work. Yeah, and I know eventually you just got to do it on the field, but a big part of that is the discipline that goes in and there is little room for error. But I think last year, Alan, I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this, the talent was there. They beat Ole Miss. They're a very questionable call of is it an interception, wasn't an incompletion away from beating Georgia. They played Texas down to the wire. But then you have games where they get blown out against South Carolina. They get blown out against Louisville. And doesn't that have to just speak to last year? And we've talked last year, but half of it has to be culture, preparation, something, because how do you just, it's easy, it's not easy, but it happens to slip off one win, right, against Ole Miss. But then how do you barely lose to Georgia? How do you barely lose to Tennessee? How do you barely lose to Texas? Then you get blown out against South Carolina and Louisville. I think a lot of it was discipline last year. A lot of it was culture. A lot of it was mindset, preparation. And we see some of these guys that they told, like, hey, maybe the time here is over, went to big schools, and big schools wanted them. So I think that they had to find the right mix. And I think they definitely had a philosophy change of they wanted experience this year. You even have some guys coming from New Mexico State, from Incarnate Word, but have played a lot of football. So it's clear that they're going for experience this year as well.
They underachieved tremendously, and there was enough talent. I agree with you, Dylan. Dylan Ballard, kind enough to join us to see a blue. They had enough talent to go to a bowl game. Major bowl game? No. Not saying the toilet bowl, but one of the minor bowl games that I often call toilet bowls, and I'm not being disrespectful because that would have been much better. I got to chomp on you for a second if I can. This has nothing to do with you. It's become my pet peeve. If you don't like me after this, I'm good, Dylan. I can't stand people complaining about the tough schedule. And here's my logic.
Yeah,
right
I get that.
Because this is the freaking SEC. So everybody needs to shut the blank up. It's pretty simple. You don't like the schedule, go to the ACC. Would they be better in the ACC? I'm sure they would. Guess what? Vandy's got a tough schedule. Mississippi State has a tough schedule. Georgia has a tough schedule. Now, within the schedule, there are some teams have it tougher than others. There's no question about it. But, I'm not giving you this crap on any given day. Almost anybody in the SEC could beat anybody. I get it. I'm just thinking, it's driving me crazy. Well, they're going to be much better, but because of the schedule, their record might not be in it. You're in this league. That means, guess what? If you have the same record and you play better and you win only 4 games, but you represented your team and your school and all that good stuff in a really good way, guess what? You still stink and you still weren't good enough. And I'm sorry if that's cold. Now, with this quote-unquote tough schedule, you win 7 games, guess what? You had a hell of a year. But it's the SEC. They're not playing in the Mountain West. It's the SEC.
It's not getting any easier either.
No, and it's never going to get any easier. It's just not. It's just not. Some of the great big men in high school live in this part of the country. It's a pretty simple deal. And it's a pretty simple deal. And you know this because you've traveled enough. Football means more here than in other places. I'm not saying it doesn't mean more. It doesn't mean a lot at Boise State. I'm not saying it doesn't mean a lot maybe at Washington State. Okay. When Washington State had Leach, it became this whole big thing. It was crazy. That's wonderful. It's not the same in different parts of the country. It's just not. So I'm sorry. When somebody says, I feel like taking a whipped cream pie and throwing it through the Zoom screen at you.
Hey, I get it. And I'm with you. I think, too, they put themselves in this situation, right? As much as I love a lot of those guys on staff, like if you don't go 4-8 last year, that's not a topic, right? If you found a way to get 6 or 7, that the schedule's not a topic. It's just another thing that you deal with every year. But you put yourself in the situation for a dire need to succeed. And the schedule may not do you any favors, but like you said, it's not going to do you any favors ever. And I think they took a different approach this year, too. Brad White said it Monday. He said, in the past, what we've had was 7 or 8 guys that we would consider stars for where we're at. And he said, tried to roll with them. He said, but this year, I think we've got 20 guys on the defensive side of the ball that you can play with. And he said, so maybe they're going for a perspective this year, Alan, that's different of the sum is greater than the whole of the parts. Like it is, I think they're going to be going for that route. He said they can go too deep at the defensive line. He was talking about how deep they are at the secondary. And I think and after watching them the other day with the ones you saw on defense, a lot of switching out. Offensive line, he said that they have their 5 and then maybe 2 other guys or 3 after that. And the wide receiver group, when I was out there, it looked like you had a lot of talent out there, but they were switching in and out a lot. It didn't see a clear number 1, so we're going to see what they do. I think they're going to be deeper than they have been in the past, but I don't know if there's those standout guys that they've also had at some positions in the past either.
I think there's a couple of underlying causes as to why they're going deeper. You ready? 1, with kids leaving because they're not playing. One of the things Stoops said early last year, I don't remember the date, but it was in September sometime, is that, and this is true at a lot of places, it's not just Kentucky, freshmen are playing more now because if you don't playing, they're more apt to transfer, and you often don't get to that fifth year anyway. So if you're good enough, they're not holding you back as much because if you play some as a freshman, it is easier to continue keeping them at your school unless somebody gets an offer. Second thing, which is a little part of the first thing, now when you're talking about depth, I really, really, really believe this. One of the problems in Kentucky forever, it was my complaint about Bill Curry. There were times that the record really stunk. You weren't even born yet. That's how old I am. But Dylan, trust me, their first 22 was pretty damn good. It was better than the record. But then what would happen is guys get hurt, and then the backups never played, so all of a sudden 6 games in, you might have 3 players who got no snaps, and now you're in the heart of that really tough schedule, as you would say, in the SEC, and they haven't had any experience. So if you take snaps away from players, it does a couple things. The probability of getting hurt decreases. That doesn't mean you can't get hurt. And 2, you're getting people ready if there is an injury. So maybe a guy who plays 12 snaps a game on the defensive line after 5 games, the first guy gets hurt, he's had 60 snaps. It's almost like a game and a half of experience. He's different. He won't feel as green. He won't get the heebie-jeebies. So that also helps. I just think it's a smart way to play. I think more teams are going to do it. And here's something else. There'll be some backups who are going to develop much quicker and might turn out to be much better players because they have experience. I think this is a smart way to go, and I will contend that this is probably the way most teams should do it all the time, unless you're Georgia and you got, your 9 of your first 11 are going to be drafted in ways that they have. But I still will say some of those backups should play. So playing backups, I think, is smart. I think it's long overdue. I think it helps with the retention of players. You're sitting on the bench and you were like, all conference in high school and all that kind of stuff, and you're not ready to start. But can you give me 9 snaps going 100 miles an hour, which takes away 9 snaps from another guy? So I think this is really smart. And what they're doing now, what you saw, and it's a really good point, Dylan, that they're having guys run in and out and practice and stuff like that, so they're used to it when the game happens. I think it's a really smart adjustment. I think the coaches have had to adjust. And some of the stuff I wish they did a long time ago, but at least they're adjusting, and I credit them for adjusting.
Yeah, and we're going to see if it works, right? I will say this, that it seems like this fan base, and social media is not real life, and there's more people that are out there. We saw Saturday at Fan Day, everybody keeps talking about gloom and doom. It was a great turnout. You know what I mean? The fans are going to be there, but I will say that the adjustment's needed, and I guess we hope to see that it works out, but it was definitely needed, and they're going to have to try this because I think that they're needed. That we all can agree they need a big year. I will say this, that a couple things that a lot of fans are talking about, and I think that it happens whenever they struggle is what's happening with the quarterback position. Zach Calzada, to me, I know you were out there Friday as well. He took 99% of the snaps with the ones. And I know a lot of people are talking about how good Cutler looked. I think Cutler is going to be a great backup. I know that's been a problem here. We saw it in Will Levis's second year. He went out for a couple games, lost every game he went out. I think that Cutler is maybe one of the better backups that Stoops has had in his era at quarterback. And I do think that, that we'll see Cutler some this year. But it looked to me like a lot of people are talking about it. Cutler was playing with the second team. He did a great job, but Calzada was taking the snaps with the ones.
Yeah, when they said on media day that Calzada was going to get 75% of the reps, I said the obvious. There is no quarterback competition. And even if Cutler played better, like I was told, those 2 days, well, okay, I don't know how many practices between now and the first game, and they're going to make the decision before the Wednesday of most times. And so let's say he was much better when they looked at tape. Well, okay, that's only 2 practices. So, you can't judge on that. You give these coaches the benefit of doubt. They're the coaches. And if after 15 practices, Cutler is much better, that's a different story. But, if Zach settles down and does what Zach you think can do, to say that there's a quarterback controversy at this point, I think is silly. I think we don't have any knowledge. But the backup quarterback is always more popular. And 2, the kid's from Lexington and comes from a great family. So it's all obvious.
Yeah. And I think that, too, when I talked to Zach, I said, Zach, what do people need to know about your game and the offense at Media Day? And what should fans know? You know what I mean? There's a lot of transfers. And he said, we're going to run the ball a lot. He said, we're going to run the ball a lot. And what that's going to do is open up plays, hopefully, for explosives. And I think that we saw early in the Mark Stoops era, when they run the football and they have a good offensive line, they're successful. So a lot of our conversations that really go back to how successful can this offensive line be. The Seth McGowan, I think is how you say his name, number 3, man. He came from New Mexico State. He really impressed me in practice on Friday. Saturday, he didn't take as many reps, I think, for precautionary reasons. But Friday, he was running with the ones the whole time. He looked really, really good. I had made a stop at Oklahoma before as well. They also, Bush Hamden said that the run game is going to start with Seth and Dante Dowdell from Nebraska. I know that last year we saw a lot of Patterson and a lot of Wilcox, but he said the run game is going to start with those 2 transfers. And so I know that Zach Calzada, we saw it Saturday, has a really big arm. And if they can rely on the run game and then try to turn some things into explosive plays, this offense can be successful. But I think there is a question of number one, how steady is this offensive line going to be? I think that they really like the Pete kid at the left tackle. They really like the Braun kid at the left guard. The other guys they like a lot, but they talked about those guys a lot. And the next question is who's going to rise to the top out of that group of wide receivers? Because last year you knew going in that Dane was going to be the number 1 option with some Barry on, with some other plays and things like that. This year I want to see who steps up in that wide receiver room, because Calzada himself said they're going to try to go for some explosive plays.
And Brian Washington said he has 8 receivers he can count on. And in his short coaching career, he's never had 8. So that was kind of impressive. Somebody will take this stat. I'm going to make an obvious guess, because Braun was a big-time player at Arkansas, and Big Pete, I think, is just going to be just fine. But the point is, I think they're going to run left a ton more than they run right. And one of the first things that Stoops said when he got here was, we have to be able to run the ball on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 when everybody in the stadium knows we're going to run the ball, and we have to get the first down. And they couldn't get that last year at all. And if they can go back, if they don't fumble the ball, they don't turn it over, and they can get that 3rd and 2 and just move the blank chains, I think it'll be much better. But somebody's going to chart how many times they run left. Because you got Braun, who was one of the better offensive linemen last year in the conference, and you got Big Pete, that's just crazy big, and Jalen Farmer, who they're just saying is a freak of nature. So there's some, looks like, legitimate pieces on the offensive line.
And I think that the questions all center around, and I know he's from the Lexington area, is how much has Jagger Burton improved and how will he do at center? I think that's where a lot of the questions lie. It'll be interesting to see. I know they tried some things with him last year and he struggled a little bit, tried some things and had some good success the year before, but then also struggled some. They've tried him at center before. They're raving about how much he's improved, but I think a lot of the questions are going to lie within how does Jagger Burton do at center.
Got to snap the ball. Apparently, I'm sorry for stepping on. He had a little problem snapping the ball the other day. And if he doesn't have a problem snapping the ball, I think he's just going to be fine. This was a big-time recruit, could have gone all kinds of places. And you put players in position to succeed, and he was not ready to play. And I thought, not his fault. Who's going to say no? He got thrown in the fire when he wasn't strong enough, and then it didn't work out well. And now he's got to overcome all that mentally and physically. And you look at him now, and if you just got off the boat and didn't know about the last 3 years ago, yeah, he looks like an SEC center now, because he really does. And the kid's worked his tail off, and he's a great kid,
changed his body.
Oh, night and day. We got about 1 minute. Just a quick basketball thing. I'm not concerned about Owe walking around in a boot because he banged up his toe a little bit. Now toes can be debilitating, but toes can be just a couple weeks. And guys, as you know, walk around all the time with a boot to be cautious. So I'm not worried about this. Are you?
No, not at all. I think the bigger worry is why is our star center, who's recovering from an ACL, in that same picture that surfaced, why is he dunking in flip flops? We need to settle on that. Let's not be dunking in flip flops.
Well, okay, except for one thing, I don't know, and neither do you, how far advanced he is.
Yeah.
So if he really shouldn't be doing it, but if
I'm talking more of the put some tennis shoes on. Let's be careful coming down on that leg in flip flops.
Come on. At his age, Who doesn't wear flip-flops?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just being funny, but yeah, I'm not worried at all about Otega Oweh. We saw PJ Washington was in a booth the morning before he played in a couple tournament games. Like the boot is precautionary in today's time. We know if Oweh had a serious injury. I'm not worried at all.
Well, I'm not sure we would know. I think people would be speculating.
People would be speculating.
Right, and be speculating. And I'm really careful about that. And it's obvious in what little I saw, maybe you saw more what I saw, he wasn't limping. So to me, boots become a very common thing. Give a quick plug for yourself. Always appreciate your time and try to get less free time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Find me on Twitter, Dylan Ballard _UK. Find all our work at A Sea of Blue. And we appreciate you guys listening. And Alan, thanks for having us on.
Good talking to you, man. Be well.
Thank you, sir.
Dylan Ballard, check him out. An outstanding young man covering the Cats, doing what he loves. Brian Milam coming up next. First, I want to mention Terry Page, a great licensed massage therapist, as I say all the time. Terry's big, beautiful deal. Almost got political, Jimmy. 859-373-0578. 859-373-0578. Text her. She's in Butler, Kentucky, first part of the week, rest of the week here in Lexington. When you get an appointment now until August 29th, $5 off. And before you leave, if you make appointments in succession, she'll take $10 off. It's a heck of a deal. She is spectacular. She's helped me out tremendously. Terry Page, 859-373-0578. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pep and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-size candy bars, 2 for $4, and Combo's 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So, play as hard as you work. Go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1392.5. WLXG Lexington. And LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. He had no gray hair when he showed up at, I had to catch my phone on Zoom. And actually, I caught it, Brian. Most of the time, you have good hands. I don't. Wasn't a baseball player. I dropped it the other day on the floor while still doing the show. What terrible coordination on my part. Brian Milam, 2008, shows up at KYT. He's a baseball guy. He's a high school guy. One of the things I respect about Brian, he's been a wonderful storyteller for WKYT, Channel 27, as sports director. And he's leaving to what seems like on the surface the perfect job if you're going to get out of TV, going to work for the KHSAA. One, congratulations. And two, I know your phone's been blowing up like crazy. What are you going to be doing for the KHSAA?
Thank you, Alan. I will be the media relations and communications director once the second week of September starts. So I will be in charge of helping fill in the scoreboards, the archives, the records, the media credentials, the press releases, all of the things for 20 high school state championships. And that sounds like a lot, and it will be. But when you enjoy something as much as I do with high school athletics, that's not going to be the work part of it. Julian Tackett, I've been told, kicks out everybody out of the office at 4 p.m. no matter what. So if you have to work at home, that's fine. At least you're at home, and so that'll be a welcome change.
I hope they use your skills telling stories in some fashion for TV. I can envision you doing some sort of high school show and syndicating across the state because you're really good at it and you could really help sell high school kids to the public and make people want to go to games. It's just my theory off the top of my head.
Thank you. I do love storytelling. And one of the things that this move allows me to do is do just that. And not just for Central Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky, but the western part of the state, which sometimes it feels as if they're a part of Missouri or Tennessee or Arkansas in that area, because there have been a lot of times when I've always thought, just personally, the Owensboroughs, the Marshall County, the first, second, third region sometimes gets forgotten about because they don't have a monster media presence. Now, they do have WPSD, which does a phenomenal job. It has for decades. But they're not Louisville, they're not Lexington, they're not Northern Kentucky. And Bowling Green from the first region feels like an eternity away. But I want to spread the stories of all of the athletes as much as I can. Now, that's impossible to do, but we focus so much on basketball, football, baseball, softball, what is considered to be, quote unquote, the major sports. There are many stories that need to be told, from swimming and diving. This new esports that's popped up over the last couple of years. Lacrosse is a growing sport. So there's a lot of things I get to learn, but I do get to tell stories, and that will help somewhere along the way.
I'm sure it'll help a lot. And there's a lot of kids, and I couldn't agree with you more, in sports, not the big sports, who have wonderful stories just as good as the basketball player who scores 22 points a game or something like that. Okay, let's focus on your TV career. Unfair question. Off the top of your head, your favorite story you ever covered?
Impossible to figure the one favorite story, because there have been, for, as you know, you covered stories for decades, and in 27 years, it's hard to put into one moment the best stories. I can think of the best athletic events I ever covered from the high school perspective. The 2019 Class 2A state championship, when Somerset, who had been waiting for literally 100 years to win a football anything, they had been so close so many times, they give away a 2-touchdown lead to Mayfield. Mayfield scores with 50 some odd seconds to go. All hope is lost. Somerset has the ball on like their own 20 with 55 seconds to go, no timeouts, and they've got to go the length of the field, and they score with no time on the clock due to an untimed down because of pass interference in the end zone. And the emotion of a community that had never won, which had been there so many times before, maybe even having the better team in a championship game, and for whatever the reason, it doesn't happen. And the sheer amount of tears that were shed that day in 2003 when Belfry won its first state championship. There's nothing wrong with crying when you win. And that day, those two schools cried as if you'd never seen anything like it before.
It's pure. It's real. It's just that's about as good as it gets.
It is. Kenja Bosley hitting the fadeaway 3 in 2013 to beat Ballard with 2.6 seconds to go. After again, Madison Central had to rally from double digits in the second half. And that was just chaotic. Seeing the dominating programs in girls basketball, softball state championship games I've been to, baseball, seeing Whitley County win a couple of years ago for the first time. A 606 school had won since 1990. Seeing things like that, they inspire you because, not everybody gets to play college ball. Not everybody gets to be a professional athlete, but so many kids, they do reach their peak athleticism in high school. And, just like Bruce Springsteen sang about, you get to relive those glory days. And everybody has glory days in high school. And we still talk about them 50, 60, 70 years later, more so sometimes than we do UK athletics, when you think about it.
I think it's always been that way, and I think it's great. And the reunions you have when you win a game like that,
yeah.
20, 30, 40 years, if everybody's around, it's just absolutely wonderful. Have some great moments covering UK, maybe some heartbreaks with UK or stuff that really sticks out for you. Are you doing this off the top of your head, or were you putting a list together? I'm really impressed if you did this off the top of your head, dude.
Well, when you love something so much, you don't have to remember the dates, the times, the moments. You don't have to remember them or write them down. They just come to you. And I remember the first high school story I did. I remember the last high school story I did in Eastern Kentucky before coming to Lexington. I remember so many things because you love it. And then there comes a time in life when the industry changes a little bit. And then it changes a lot. And you're forced to adapt to it. And you can adapt to certain skills that you have. But at the core, telling stories, getting to know the kids, getting to know the families, getting to know the people who make that story possible. That's what's great. And I think we're losing that a little bit in a lot of areas where, you only get, Alan, you don't get 2 hours for a show. You get 15 minutes. You wouldn't be able to talk very long and share what you know, what you want to talk about if you only had 15 minutes. And there have been a trillion things that excite me about sports, but at the core of it, probably because I started in Hazard at WYMT, it deals with high school.
My pet peeve for years has been, and the consultants, which I'm sure you've dealt with. For those watching on YouTube, Brian just did and if you're not, Brian just rolled his eyes. Let me tell you a quick one of me, and not to make this about me, but you'll relate to it. So I'm in Boise, Idaho. Yeah. And there was the consultant was a former news director who should have retired. He was way past his prime and all that kind of stuff. And come on, you've been there. He's reading off the blank sheet and he's got it memorized. Nobody cares about sports and and I was prepared for it. And the other thing he said to me, you laugh at this because you know me a little bit, going, young man, do you know you're polarizing? And I said to him, really? That's what you brought me into? You don't think I know I'm polarizing? And he shut up for about 10 seconds, which is great. But the point is, he said, sports is important. And this is Idaho. This is not New York City. But the station actually goes a long way, even though there are a lot of tiny places it goes to. And I gave him the figures as to how many people show up to football games on Friday night. And he shut up. And I said, that's sports. It's community involvement. I said, don't tell me sports is not important when you have on a Friday night, outside the city of Boise, there'd be more people in our TV area, which was vast. Not a lot of population, but it was vast. Go to high school football games. It was bigger than any city outside of Boise, Idaho. And he was dumbfounded. I said, those are the kids. They love it. That's what they're doing. You don't get this. Oh, and the next day I called him. I was friends with the news director. He goes, what did you say? What did you do? You really ticked him off. So I told him what I said. He goes, yeah, sounds like you. Get out of here. And I told him exactly what I said. I don't think these consultants understand the value of storytelling, and you don't have to be a great sports fan. But, Brian, when you're doing a story about a kid from Hazard, when you're in Hazard, and it's a lovely story, whether you're a sports fan or not, people want to see it, and I don't think these TV consultants get it.
Yeah, there's a hook to every story. And I've always said sports is news. It just has a different name to it. we still run for TV terms, VOSOTs, VOs, packages, full screens. There are things to do, but there is a story behind so much. And if you give news and weather this much, hey, that they deserve that. You give sports that much, you can't really tell the story. It's more like headline reading. And that is become the industry. I've always found it funny when television stations bring in consultants, they don't bring in sports consultants. They don't bring in people say, here's what we have watched over the last few years. We had some consultants come into the TV station. I remember this distinctly. It was in 2012. And a guy from New York said, oh, you guys do too much sports. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do, whatever. And Wayne Martin was our general manager at the time. And he said, let me tell you. And he said, yeah, I know it's different down here. It's different. You guys don't do this, whatever. He said, in 2011, when Calipari had televised his first open practice at Memorial Coliseum, it was the year after John Wall and Boogie Cousins and everybody. We got on 1 2-hour run for a live practice. And I will never forget this number he said to me. He goes, we got a 76 share on a live practice at 1 o'clock or noon in the afternoon, whatever it was. And the guy goes, I don't believe that. And Wayne said, you need to get out because it's the truth. People, like you said, Alan,
good for Wayne.
Show up.
Good for Wayne. I knew the number was ridiculously high. I didn't know it was that high. That's about as good an example as you can get.
Yeah, it was like watching the final for certain people of a generation. It's like watching the final episode of MASH. The whole country was tuned in. Well, in this case, the entire coverage area was tuned in, and Lord knows what the numbers would have been had there been live streaming and things at that time, the way we have it now. But yeah, don't tell me sports doesn't work, because it always works. And I would like to tell some stories and try to get what I want, my ultimate goal. And it's not me, it's a team thing, but hopefully you can start, get that spark going. The crowds at the Sweet 16 in the 1980s were phenomenal.
Yep.
And when you think back to 1981 and you've got an undefeated Mason County team taking on Simon Kenton, and the place has got 24,000 people, then you get to the rivalries with Clay County and Ballard in 87 and 88. They helped establish the 80s decade. Rex Chapman, coming in from Apollo, didn't play many state tournament games, but the only way to see him was to see him in person. And there were so many great moments. And I think that social media has kind of tainted that a little bit, because, hey, I can just sit at home and watch. I still think you go to a live game, UK football, UK basketball, you're going to have 20,000 plus for basketball. You could have, depending on the season and the opponent, you could have 60,000 in there. That doesn't happen because people don't care and don't watch sports. I just think there's been a lack of emphasis on sports all throughout the media world over the last several years, and it just keeps dwindling. The local media, mind you, and there's a place for everything. And high school, for me, I've always had a love for that, and that's just what I want to do. And now I get a chance to do something I truly love, and also build for the future with things I get to do for myself that I have sacrificed for 27 years.
Like being home at night.
What's that thing you talk about?
What is that talking about?
Get to go to all these state tournament games. But again, Julian kicks out everybody allegedly at 4:00. Go home.
I didn't know that, but that to me is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely beautiful. That family is that important to him, and that he pushes it. You got a parting word or thought about something you either love the most, or you miss the most, or you won't miss the most, besides not missing me? I mean, anything else?
I will miss the camaraderie of the day-to-day grind of seeing coaches and kids and going to the UK games and seeing the familiar faces that you get to know over the years. And I will miss that more than anything. I will not miss the games. I will not miss the day-to-day grind of, hey, you may put in a 13-hour day today. It may be a 15-hour day. It may be a 3-hour day. When I was young, The unexpected was great. As you get older, you want more of a solid schedule. But I will miss seeing the people, the blue coats at Rupp Arena. I will miss seeing them if I don't go to games. The folks on the sidelines at Kroger Field, that'll be huge. But I get to expand my heart a little bit more instead of just the job. I get to be me, and that's something I don't know if I've had totally, especially since COVID when the whole world got weird. I get to find me again a little bit from a sports angle and get to do what I love.
I'm really happy for you. Like I said, we really don't know each other that well. We said hi to each other a lot and that kind of stuff. But as far as personal, we don't know each other. So I've watched you from afar. I told you one time, it's driving me nuts. I'm trying to remember the story, but you did a high school story that I happened to catch. It was beautiful.
It was Mac Whitaker. It was
that's
Mac
what
Whitaker.
It was. You even remember what I said to you, dude?
Yeah.
Keep your memory. That's really special talent.
And the thing that hooked everybody, the one clip of video that hooked everybody was I said, "What was old can be new again," and it was his wife hugging him after they win the state championship in the mid-90s. And I dissolved that picture into him hugging his wife again on his latest regional championship. And that's what got a lot of the waterworks flowing for a lot of people. Like, oh my gosh, that's great. But it bridges the past to the present.
Right.
And there's a great community of baseball in Harrison County. And that was the story.
TV will miss you. KHSA is lucky to have you. Proud of what you've accomplished. Appreciate your time. I can't imagine what the hell you need from me, but if you ever do, or if there's something that we should be doing, a guest or something like that, you know how to reach me. I'm open to anything. Mazel tov. Congratulations. Thanks for joining me, because I know the last 48 hours are crazy. If you told me you had 300 text messages, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's been astronomical. My dad has received more than 400 social media messages. Wow. And there was, for the first 26 hours, I had to turn off the phone at one time, and I wake up, there's 36 messages here and there's 70 something here. And it's been more than 1,000, which is mind boggling to me, because I don't look at myself the way we do when we're younger, when we're a little arrogant, a little this, a little that. I just want to do the job. And that means I've done something right. And for that, I am forever grateful to those people.
And I appreciate you getting back to me, because I wasn't sure you'd be able to, because I assumed the obvious. It didn't take much brain power on my part that your phone was going crazy. So thank you for getting back to me. Wish you the best of luck. Really happy for you. And please don't be a stranger if you have something that we should be doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you.
Brian Milam did a hell of a job for Channel 27. He really did, Jimmy. And I'm telling you what, he is a storyteller. A storyteller. And there's not enough storytellers. It was one of my huge pet peeves in TV, because I was deemed a storyteller. Our sports department was storytelling, and I wanted to do even more. And I talked to my boss about it. Yeah, well, we'll let you do this, but you got to do the daily grind. Well, there's only so many hours a day. I'm not complaining about me, but storytelling is a lost art, and Brian Milam has it. It's really that simple. Gene Abel coming up next. Gene, I'm going to be late. Gee, there's a surprise. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Acupuncture, Blue Lotus Health on Versailles Road, now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Ramon Carriega, please use my name. Please go see him. Please be concerned about your health. It's acupuncture. It's different. It's been absolutely spectacular for me. 859-533-0914. Gene Abel coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So, play as hard as you work. Go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Suffer. If you want to be great, gotta suffer.
I love that soundbite. I just love that soundbite. That is Jalen Farmer, the Studley offensive lineman for Kentucky. I've called Gene many things, but not Studley. Gene Abel's kind enough to join us. Man, you got chopped in there. Hello, Gene. How are you?
We're not going down that street, Alan.
So let me throw this at you. Retired, outstanding, respected sports editor of the Lexington Herald-Leader. So, come on, you've dealt with this your whole life in your career about catchwords and catchwords and catchwords. It seems like, because I've heard this word from, Bush Hamden, at least 2 or 3 players, and I don't know how many others have said it. It seems like one of the words at camp is suffering. I'm guessing, I don't know this, that's been parroted by the coaches, and what they're telling the players, look, everybody knows these 2 days, they don't do 2 days anymore. Training camp is really tough, and you're tired, and your legs are burning, and you're sore, and all that kind of stuff. It's part of getting ready for football, and they're telling the players, hey, you got to deal with suffering. If you don't deal with suffering, we're not going to be any good. And let me throw more at you, Gene. Apparently, at the very end of practice yesterday, Stoops wasn't happy. That happens every year with something because they had a good practice apparently up to then, and then they kind of gave in by being tired. So he kind of chomped on it a little bit. But I like the word suffering, and when you hear it from a player, they get what they're supposed to do. Now, will it transform to the field? I don't know. But do you like these catchwords?
It's fine. Suffering. And that's sacrificing is what I'd rather say. But they definitely needed to sort of. They said they had changed the culture, and I guess that's changing the culture, and we'll find out when they start playing for real. But I don't think I've heard suffering used before. But I think they probably are working hard. I think he's asking more of them than they did in the last year or two, and based on the results, they needed to.
You getting hyped up with the hype season that's coming out with all the positive comments that are being made, or you're saying it's every year, these kinds of things, or you're saying, it does seem like that the culture has changed based upon the words that come out of training camp?
Alan, I think I've been to this preseason for more years than I want to say, and they are undefeated in every preseason. And,
Amen.
And I don't mean that's what's great about sports. You get optimistic whenever season starts. I'm still waiting for a coach or a player in a preseason to say, we didn't come back ready to play. I don't like what my team looks like, and I don't think we're going to be any good. It doesn't work that way. That's what sports is about. People get excited. They're optimistic now. They should be. I'm going to stay in the same camp I've been. I'm sort of in the wait and see attitude after the last couple of years. I think, what are they, 7-17 in the SEC the last 3 years? I need to see some improvement.
Yep, I agree. And this has become my pet peeve really, really strong. I can't stand it anymore. And maybe I'm an old curmudgeon.
Are you going to throw that pie at me that you talked about, or something about the schedule?
It just drives me nuts when people say they have a tough schedule. Tennessee has a tough schedule. Alabama has a tough schedule. Georgia has a tough schedule. And some schedules are a little more tougher than the others. I think most people get that. But I'm just tired of hearing tough schedule. I'm just sick and tired of it. This is the SEC. This is what you signed up for. Shut up and quit complaining about the schedule. Am I being too much of an old fogey?
I wouldn't call you old fogey because you're the same age as I am. I understand what you're saying, and yes, if you're in the SEC, you start knowing you're going to be in the toughest conference and a very tough schedule. Some years it falls a little tougher with the road games or the ones that, I mean, because sometimes you're better off if your road games are against the teams that you can't beat, like a Georgia that you're not going to beat no matter where it is, and your home games are the ones that are sort of in the middle. I think this year it is a little tougher. And one thing that changes it drastically is you've gone in the last few years sort of on the assumption they're going to beat Louisville. Well, that's flipped. So that's now a game when you look at it that I don't think there's any way you can say he's in the win column, and it'd be a long shot at this point. And when you're searching for those 6 wins and having to find them, when you flip that one, and then you get 1 or 2 tough ones on the road. I think this is a little tougher schedule than usual. But yeah, you in the SEC, if you're going to be in the SEC, expect to play a tough schedule in football or any sport.
And I agree with you, Louisville, but it's also Missouri, right, which is flipped. It's also South Carolina, which is flipped. It's also Vandy that is flipped.
And part of the reason they flipped is because Kentucky slipped.
You know, I think partly Kentucky slipped, but I also think partly because they got better. I think it was a combination of both.
Well, yes. But when you win a game or two that you haven't been winning, you start to gain a little confidence. You start playing a little better. You may even help you a little recruiting. You know, South Carolina was a couple of years ago. We're wondering how that was going to go, and now they're back. They're on the way back up. So that should actually give people some hope that Stoops can do it. Now, obviously, he hasn't been there anywhere as long as Stoops has, but looked like they were starting to slide a couple of years, and now I think they're preseason top 15 in some places.
And they got a wonderful young quarterback who has some magic in his legs and is exciting. And Vandy's got a hell of a quarterback. Let's see if Pavi's as good as this year as was last year, or maybe even better. And South Carolina's got a hell of a quarterback. And Drinkowitz of Missouri has done a hell of a job recruiting. And I think Louisville's lucky to have him. He'll probably be the rest of his career. And I think Louisville is about to go on a streak that's about as good as it gets. I don't know if it'll be better than Petrino's. Petrino had a short spurt that was unbelievable, but I think Brom will be there longer. You don't know about anybody leaving, but I can see Brom being there the rest of his life. He's from Louisville. You know, his dad is at practice. His brother works for him. His family's so involved. I mean, that's a perfect situation for the University of Louisville.
Absolutely. I've always been a big fan of Brom, and the family's just remarkable. I thought he was really good at Western. The one thing to maybe move Brom to the next level is he has proven to take programs, make them better, get them better quick, get them very competitive quick. He hasn't yet in any, and I don't think it's going to happen at Western, but even at Purdue, it's sort of leveled out a little bit. And that final step of, national contender and whatever is the final thing for him. But Brom's really good, and you're right, he'll probably be there until he decides it's time to get out of it.
Let's put it this way. Let's forget about Stoops. I'm not getting rid of Stoops or anything like that. But had Brom become the Kentucky coach, I think Kentucky fans would be very happy. Outside, they're saying, he's a Louisville guy. Well, you win, you win. I think if he coached here, I think people would be very happy.
They'd be very excited about it. I was hoping at one point that he might be a candidate here. And I think the family maybe had some outs in there for a little while at U of L.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that did occur a little bit during when Louisville was going through a hard time a few years ago with the Petrino, some different things. Yes.
Okay. Can you expound on that? Do you want to leave that alone?
I'll leave it alone.
Okay. And honestly, you're telling me something I didn't know. Interesting. I think the only thing that might get him away, and I don't know him personally, and I don't know what's inside his soul, if the NFL comes calling after he's won like 10 games at Louisville a couple of times, does he have that itch to try to do it on that level? Because his brother could easily, with his reputation and his knowledge, be an offensive coordinator in the NFL.
I think he'll be at Louisville for a long time.
Yeah, I do too.
And I'm not sure he just, and I don't know him that well. He just doesn't really feel like an NFL coach. He feels like he's a Louisville's coach, and that's a good place for him.
Absolutely. And let's put it this way. He would make a lot more money at Kentucky than he does at Louisville. That's fine. It's easy for me to say. It's not my money. I don't think money drives him. I had Kendrick Haskins on the other day. Kendrick, dear friend, sports director at Wave TV. I don't know if you guys had ever crossed. Actually, by the time you retired, I don't think he'd been sports director yet, but he'd been at Wave for a long time. And I think he's still driving that car from the 1990s. So, the point is, I don't think money moves him, and he's already made millions. I think he makes like $5 a year, whatever it is. I mean, how much do you need? And I think there's some more and more, not enough, more and more coaches go, I'm happy here. Why do I need to go from $5 to $7 million when I found a place that I'm happy at? I'm happy. Mark Few does that. He could have left, as you know, tons of times from Gonzaga, but he's happy there at Spokane. He's king. He goes fishing there. He's got a program that supports him tremendously. I'm surprised more and more coaches don't say, I'm making plenty of money. I'm happy.
I would agree with that. I do think if it's needed, Louisville can come up with money. It may not be exactly the same, but I don't think they would ever lose Braun to. I mean, maybe if an Alabama or a Georgia or Ohio State opened up, that may be different. But I think Louisville can bid with Kentucky if they need to.
I agree with that. That there are deeper pockets when you have to. Let me throw this out. John Hale did a nice job in Lexington Herald Leader doing a story on Bill Allen, and I've talked about Bill Allen. John did a really good job.
Bo Allen?
Bo Allen. I'm thinking about his dad. I'm sorry. Who we both covered, who was a nice backup quarterback who I think had been in the world of transfers. There's a lot of places he could have started. And Bill Allen has been a very successful banker here in town for a long time, and Bo will be successful no matter what he does. And I'm repeating what I said. God bless him. He's happy, but I think he could play quarterback at a lot of places. And he's basically a coach in waiting here. It's his hometown. I just hope for his sake that he doesn't someday wake up when he's 40. He got screwed when he transferred to Georgia Southern, and they wouldn't let him play in one of the most dumbest things on the face of the earth. That ticked me off at the time. It still ticks me off now for the kid. But I think the kid's a really good quarterback at a certain level, and not playing to me would drive me nuts a little bit, and he's given that up. And it's far be it for me to say what another person should do, but Gene, I've talked to enough guys, and so have you. When they're 40, they wish they played more.
But he did get to play. Was it Tarleton State?
Yeah, and he did well.
He did. I mean, and I'm just saying, this is my opinion. I just wonder. I assumed when he did get screwed at Georgia Southern, but after that, when he made the decision to come back here, I assumed that he sort of felt like, I had my time. I got to play at Tarleton State. I want to finish out at Kentucky, and I'm sure he could have gone some places to play, and I just sort of assumed that he thought, I got that fixed. I did it. I know my limits, and I want to go back and finish at Kentucky. But
I hope you're right, but as you know, people often change their mind when they're 40, saying, what if? That's all. That's all. I remember in high school, he was a hell of a high school quarterback, by the way, because we covered him, and he could run, he could throw. He's really smart. If he wants to go into coaching, I think he'll be a hell of a coach.
And to me, I've read the story by John, which was a good piece. It's a breath of fresh air to read that to me. This kid who came back, he knows he's not going to start. He's not complaining. He's happy, and he'll be available and probably a pretty dang strong third-team quarterback.
Yes. Yes, and I wonder if he thought there were times last year maybe he could have helped or something like that when you're trying to do one thing and you get something else and those kinds of things. Let's switch to one of your favorite sports, baseball. Jimmy, would you cue up the two highlights from last night and give me a thumbs up when you have it? And I didn't realize this till I read it this morning, that there are 3 teams in baseball, only 3, that haven't had a 5-game losing streak, all in the same division, the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Reds. 2 of the best plays from last night as the Reds beat the Cubs again.
Ball to find you. Hayes on the bare hand. Yes! What a play!
Oh, now you're just showing off. Oh, that is outstanding. I didn't think there was any way he was going to make that play. That was some kind of pretty.
In the air, left field. Happ going back on this windy night. That is gone! The 13th of the year for Steer. Right into the Chicago wind, and the Reds ahead 4-1.
Did we mention that Spencer Steer comes up big in big spots. That's a second consecutive at bat. He's done exactly that.
Reds play this afternoon. Our show won't be over at 152. It'll be over 147 as we lead into Reds baseball. I don't know if you saw that play by Hayes. I watched it a couple times. There aren't 3 or 4 more third basemen that can make that play. Maybe somebody else could be lucky or something like that. But that was, I ended up watching it like multiple times because it was that good of a defensive play. And to me, a play like that, it's not as good as if it's a 2-2 game in the bottom of the ninth and somebody hits a home run to win it. But to me, that's as good as a home run in the 5th inning that gets you back in the game. Everybody gets excited. So that was ridiculously goofy, spectacular.
There may be numerous players that can make that play, but there's not numerous players that can make consistent plays like that as he does. And that's why they got him. That's why he's there. That was a magnificent play.
Sorry for stepping on it, Gene. That's a perfect way of putting it. And with Steer, my pet peeve is that Francona said after the game last night that he is having his normal numbers. You got to take out the first 50, 60 at-bats. And I complained of that at the time. He was hurt. His shoulder was messed up. He couldn't play left field. They stuck him in first, and now he's become a really good first baseman. He played first base before. And my thing is, he couldn't hit. So why the hell didn't they put him on the disabled list? The fact that you're saying he got it out for the team, his performance was so bad, I would like to think somebody else could have been just as bad while he healed. Sometimes with injuries, it doesn't make any sense. And you know, after that first stretch, when he was hurt, and then it took him a little while to get past that, he has done a really nice job. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's terrific. Not saying he's ever going to be an all-star in the Hall of Fame, but he's a winning player. And I thought he got screwed by saying, I'll tough it out and I'll play.
I'm a big fan of Steers. I think he's just a really solid guy. I think the guy's had about 90 RBIs the last 2 years. I think I've said on your show earlier a couple of times when everybody said they needed a bat, which they did. They could use another bat, but more important to them all along was going to be getting McLean and Steer back. But Steer, he may not be an all-star, but I mean, he's going to finish this year with 70, 75 RBIs. Considering the start, that's remarkable. Steer is good, and he has become a really good first baseman. I think McLean can be really good, and those two are guys that have done it in the past. They're not guys that you're thinking, wow, they have the potential. They have done it. As far as the beginning of the season, I mean, that's something that, you know, he and the medical people and Tito had to work out. I don't know what was best, what they should have done, but he clearly was not ready. And now you're seeing the Spencer Steer that I hope the Reds have for years, and that makes them a much better team. And I think McLean does the same thing.
I agree with that. And there was talk about Steer getting an extension. Then when he wasn't playing well, that was tabled. And I'm going, you're tabling it, but the guy can't be himself. I want to play this comment from Tito after the game about Luttrell. I really like Luttrell. Said it at the time. I know he gives up way too many home runs. I don't know if he's still number one, but he was number one in the National League when they got him. But he's an innings eater. He's a bullpen's best friend, doesn't throw 98 miles an hour. He is a pitcher. I really like the trade. He's the kind of guy you might be able to sign long-term because he's not going to get the big-time dollars because he doesn't throw that 98-mile-an-hour fastball. And, you know, Tampa Bay, and then he's flown around, and he couldn't get his stuff, and he couldn't bring his wife up, and they're going from Tampa and then Bristol and here and Chicago and whatever. It's been a crazy week. 7 innings, 3 hits, gives up 1 run, strikes out 8, and he saves the bullpen. And this was Tito on his game last night.
Think of Littell. That's pretty good. I mean, you know, first 2 guys get on. You got some really dangerous guys coming up. Gets out of that, and then. I mean, it was, you know, both the pitchers kind of fastball split. Yeah. And, man, I mean, just, you know, I think he walked 2, which is probably more than he usually does. But he got us deep into the game, put up zeros. You know, he gave up the 1 solo. God, that was really exciting to watch.
Look, it's early, but this guy has a lot behind what he's saying. I love the trade. I didn't like the trade. I love the trade.
Well, he was certainly impressive last night. Those first 2 batters got on, and I thought, oh my goodness, he doesn't need to get off the rough start. I think he strikes out 3 in a row, gets out of that jam, and he was in total control after that. I was thinking this morning, I mean, obviously he's in the rotation. So if Hunter comes back, who goes out of the rotation?
I think Chase Burns is going to the bullpen.
Maybe so. I like Chase Burns, and right now he is on a pitch count. But I like Chase Burns a lot. I'd like to see him stay in the rotation, but you might be right. We'll see.
Now,
But that's a nice situation to have. I mean, Martinez is the ultimate pro of being able to do both. I don't know if Burns. I'm sure he's been a starter his whole life. I think long term they're thinking of him as a starter, but maybe right now that's the move. But it seems like it'd almost have to be him or Springer.
It looks like Martinez is back in the starting rotation with Lodolo and his blister going on the disabled list.
It's short term that changes it, and that does not need to be long term with them. And he's had that problem before.
Yes, and actually, I thought it was really smart when Lodolo knew of the situation, has done it before, and he said, "I didn't throw another pitch because when he had this problem previously and the blister popped, it takes a lot longer to heal." Yeah. And so, how many times have we seen an athlete going, "I'll tough it out until they're in so much pain, it's ridiculous, it's much worse"? He just said, "Hey, look, I got an issue, and they're going to take care of it." And you know, these blisters. Pitchers get blisters and they get treatment and stuff like that. And as a child, I remember the Nolan Ryan story, sticking his hands in pickle brine to toughen himself up and stuff like that. But I don't think the average person who doesn't play baseball can get a feel as to the torque and how tight you grip a baseball and on the seams and what you're doing to your hands. It's a very difficult thing.
You cannot pitch with a blister on your hand. And I don't know, I watched that live and I don't know if you noticed, he literally just looked over at the dugout, took his finger and went like that and said, "Get out here, I'm done."
I didn't see it live, but I did see the clip. Yeah, it was very smart. You pitched, right?
Yes, I did.
I was told you were a heck of a pitcher.
I was okay at my day. Yeah, I was pretty good.
You're a lot more modest than a New Yorker, I know. You know that?
Well, I can tell you some stats, but we're not going to go into that right now.
Okay, so give me a quick stat.
Freshman year in high school, I was 9-2. Pitched first game of the season.
Could you throw 85 miles an hour?
Alan, how old are we? How many guns did they have back then on a radar gun? Who are you kidding?
No, there were no radar guns, but do you have a feel as to how hard you could throw?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how hard. I think I was throwing from the time I was 9 until about 14. I think I was throwing very hard for my age. I do not know how hard that was, but I think it was very hard relative to my age. My arm was pretty much shut by the time I was 15. But
really,
yes, I pitched too much, way too much. I was pitching in 4 different leagues when I was like 14.
What?
Yes, but that's another day, another story.
Okay,
nobody really wants to hear, I don't think.
Well, that's really sad that you were robbed maybe pitching in college or something like that.
It was, I was at UK one semester and played and realized that Dickie Parsons was the coach. And I said, this isn't going to work. I don't have it. And I knew I didn't have it, but had so much pressure being from a small town and a pretty, I didn't lose in high school, but it's because, by then I just knew how to pitch, but I knew I didn't have it and I didn't need to be around any longer trying.
NFL bans smelling salts. George Kittle, one of the better tight ends for a long time in the NFL, is really ticked off about it. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I read the story where they're saying maybe it's not healthy for you. I try to be on a crazy health kick that at times I drive my wife crazy and stuff like that.
You drive your wife crazy?
Yeah, only when I talk.
That would be often, but anyway.
It is often. I don't get, with everything going on in the world, with everything happening, and I happen to believe that football players should be able to smoke marijuana, and I'll tell you why. Because I've talked to football players who've had concussions and stuff like that smoking pot gets them through the day, retired players and stuff like that. It's a real pet peeve of mine. I don't smoke pot, that's not the point, but if there's some medicinal value, they won't tackle that, yet they're tackling smelling salts? Smelling salts?
Didn't seem like it should be number one on the issue list to me. I was a little bit, I'm trying to see much about it. That surprises me. I don't understand
just like,
that.
Gene, smelling salts.
I mean,
with all the issues in life, with all the issue that is going on, smelling salts.
I don't get it.
Okay.
I don't have much more to say other than I don't understand it.
It's just Baffling. Last one. As we end the show early, do you have any hope that the Reds will make the playoffs?
I think they have a shot to make the play. I mean, I just read today they have the third hardest schedule left. But the fact of it is, for the last year and a half, the Reds have played better against the good teams than the teams that aren't so good. Now they have I think a lot of games with Milwaukee, who has just whipped up on them for a couple of years, but they're within distance, and I think they're within the same amount with two teams now. So it's of the Mets and Padres, which they just need one of them. You know, the Mets are struggling. You know, when you said the Reds hadn't lost 5 in a row, that's the same thing. They haven't lost a series. If they could put together, you know, like one 9 or 10 game run, or 8-2 or 9-1, sure, they can get in it. I don't think it's out of the question.
I don't either, but San Diego improved themselves tremendously, especially in the bullpen.
San Diego is going to be really hard to catch.
Yeah, that's a 7-inning game, and I like their organization.
But aren't San Diego and the Mets now with the exact same record?
Yeah, they're neck and neck.
And I think they need to catch one of them.
Yep. 20 seconds left in the show. We got to hit this as a hard break. Gene, I got 2 words for you. Thank you. Always appreciate you. You're the voice of reason as a guest on the show.
Well, I'll have to think about that. I hope that's a good thing.
Get out of here. You know
it's certainly better than the opposite.
Yes,
Take care,
it is.
Alan.
See you,
Good to
man.
talk to you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good day. Gene Abel, have a great day. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show.
Is that tight enough? Is that tight enough?
That is perfect timing.
I was actually 3 seconds over, which kind of ticks me off because I had to do it exactly with the Bengals, and I did. But then again, it was me finishing talking. So that's on me. I could have ended it quicker that way. Give me a second. I got to figure out who's on the show tomorrow. Oh, interesting. I forgot. I booked him last week. Hi, this is Alan Cutler of 1300 AM and 92.5 FM. Also live anywhere in the world on the ESPN Sports Lexington app. Chip Rupp, my friend. Brandon Ramsey, now a friend. See you Thursday.